Chandler, thank you for joining me for our Thought Leader Spotlight series. I'm your host, Matt Camp, head of partnerships for DealMachine. On these, we really shine a spotlight on industry experts like yourself to really hear inspiring stories and educate our audience on lessons that you've learned and really how you see the world evolving. So today, I'm really excited to welcome on Chandler David Smith. Chandler's been investing in real estate for nearly a decade, currently owns 114 units of rental real estate and 73 unit storage complex, at least at the time of this recording. Who knows what you'll be at by the time this goes live. So, we're a big fan of your YouTube channel. You just hit over 100,000 subscribers. So congrats there. I love seeing the plaque behind you for that one.
Thank you.
And then you've got your course on chandlerdavidsmith.com. So you really have a passion for sharing your real estate knowledge with others. So I know our audience is going to really, really appreciate and look forward to this one. Outside of that, you're a regional sales manager at Aptive Environmental Pest Control, and you've recruited, trained, and managed more than 1,000 reps for them and accounting for over 20 million in gross sales. So I love to dig into that background as well today, but I'm really, really excited to have you on, and welcome on, Chandler.
Thanks so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, to kind of begin with, I know today we're going to dig in on really kind of all things real estate, but I love to go a little bit deeper than your standard bio, and especially because you kind of have that unique backstory and your experience within that pest control world and your door-to-door sales and how that's kind of translated into real estate investing. So can you kind of tell us more about that story and kind of what drew you to real estate, through that journey?
Yeah, of course. So what heck, it's been about 10 years ago. I was starting college and I was dirt poor and I needed a way to make money. So I had actually applied all over in the little college town I was in. And unfortunately, nobody wanted to hire me. So after doing that, I had heard about guys going across the country and selling stuff door to door. So I started doing research on it and I was able to find a good company that I went out with. And when I started, I sucked. Sales was hard. It was a unique transition for me. And I was always someone that, thought I was good with people, but putting all the parts together was a struggle early on. So I went a week without making any money because it was a 100% commission job. Wow. After that week, I really put in the time training and, diving into everything sales. And I had before, but that week was, when you're knocking doors and getting a bunch of no's and getting rejected, you're definitely forced to be like, holy cow, I got to figure this out. But then it just kind of caught fire. I ended up breaking the rookie record at the company in the next 3.5 months. So I sold 459 contracts. They're all about $500 to $600 per contract. And I personally ended up making over $96,000. So after doing that in a 3 to 4 month period, I knew I had to do it long term. So the next year I went out, I sold even more, and I led a team. I made 140,000 plus that summer. The year after that, I was close to $250,000. And then it's just kind of grown from there. And my passion for sales has evolved to where I not only love sales, but I love training salespeople. And so naturally I had all this money and I wanted a good place to put it. And that's what kind of brought in real estate. And I think the cool thing about real estate or anything else you do is there's always that sales side of it that can give you an edge in anything you do. And I kind of used that to my advantage and started buying properties and finding really good deals. And over the last 8 years of buying properties, I've been able to scale to that, 114 units of rental real estate and a 73 unit storage complex. And we're just about to close on 2 four-plexes and a single family home here in the next month. And we'll just go from there. So that's kind of the short and condensed version.
Love it. One really interesting thing that you brought up there is like going from, the week that was completely cold and then flipping that switch and being able to break records from that. Like looking back on that experience, what were the things that really changed for you to make that switch? Like, is it simply the work ethic, or was it a mindset thing, or, can you kind of walk us through that?
I love this question because I've always been someone that I always make and keep commitments with myself and with the companies that I've worked for, with the jobs that I've done. And so it was not at all a work ethic thing. I was grinding just as crazy of hours that first week as I was the rest of the summer. It was that I needed all of the correct pieces to understand how to get through smoke screens, resolve concerns, and close people. And sales is an art. It really is. Anybody that tells you that it's a numbers game, they're right, but they're also wrong, because you can become a salesman that closes a much higher percentage than another salesman by putting in the time and understanding the proper sales principles. And so it wasn't a work ethic thing for me. It was getting the right training and getting it to click. And that's why if you're someone that you're like, man, I hate sales, right? I haven't been successful in sales. It's because you're not trained properly. And if you're putting in the right hours, I can take anyone, even if you can't walk and chew gum, I can train you and get you to a place where you can sell someone pest control or anything else, as long as you do all the things that we teach you on. And I think we're one of the few organizations that dives into verbal, paraverbal, and nonverbal communication on top of everything that you need to say in your pitch and all of that. And that makes a big difference. So
yeah, I mean, I think there are plenty of people listening to this that could use more sales experience, and it sounds like something you highly recommend for how it translates into real estate investing. So yeah, can you maybe dig in? I know I'm just teeing you up for a little bit of a plug here, but can you kind of tell people about the sales training you guys do and kind of the organization and more about that as well?
Yeah, so it's funny how it's evolved, because when I started, again, I was a poor college kid just wanting to make money. But I was really good at sales. And when you're really good at sales, you want to share that with people. I mean, if you go out and you make $96,000 in a 3.5-month summer, you're calling all your buddies saying, dude, you got to come do this with me. And so that's what I did. And so I had a team. And luckily for me, if you sell over a certain amount, you have the opportunity to lead a team. And so we only let people that have sold above that amount lead teams. And so that next year I got to lead a team. And then once my buddies came out and did well, then they're getting to lead teams. And you kind of get a passion for the sales training that we provide. And so when I started, it was good, but now it is on another level. And what we'll do is we will break down everything. We will give them the pitch. We will give them the 15 to 20 concerns they're going to run into on the door. And then we'll help them to learn 3 resolves, aces, and closes for all of those 15 concerns. So our people that are on the door, not only do they have a pitch, but they know exactly what to say and how to say it. And I think that's where most companies will stop. But then what we do is we literally break down when to make eye contact, when to break it, when to smile, when to head nod, how to read the customer, how to get them to open up, how to do all of those things with getting them to mirror you and breaking through the different smoke screens and concerns that you're going to run into, making sure that you redirect and take their attention somewhere else if you feel like they're getting bound up. And there's so much that goes into that when you're diving into things as little as the pitch and tone of your sales rep's voice and the pitch and tone of the customer's voice and how to go through that. So we have literally hundreds of hours of training. We do a 1-hour training every day before we send our people out on the doors. And so people that apply to come work for me, they can apply at www.elitesummersales.com, but we do not take everyone. We had probably over 2,000 people apply through my YouTube channel this year, and then a couple more thousand that just came in the door. And right now we've only got 700 that are signed, and we'll probably start the summer with between 500 and 600 that are working for us, because we want to find the best of the best. But those people that do come out, the money they'll make will be incredible, but the skill set they'll acquire will make them a lot more money in the long run than they'll make this summer. And I think that is what is so important, is this carries over into everything. All of my big performers are now buying real estate in incredible deals that they've been able to negotiate because of the skill set they got through us. So there's my very passionate pitch for what we do.
So you can tell you have the sales background. I like it. You're just showing off the skills right there. Yeah, we'll link to that too. You might have a few more people to sort through that. But yeah, I mean, I think my background is also in sales as well. So I love I really do think it's a skill that for sure, you're always selling yourself in some way, like whether it's literal sales or an idea or to recruit somebody to come work with you, or you're fundraising or whatever the situation might be, you're selling in some way. So to hear how you guys do a full psychological breakdown of what it looks like from a buyer's perspective and from both sides of the table there sounds incredibly valuable. But yeah, tell me more, like, do you guys, because you have such a detailed playbook on the pest control side, like, do you kind of think through that when it comes to real estate investing as well? Like, have you guys built out any kind of, playbook, quote unquote, on how to deal with sellers and, how to think through the psychology, of real estate investing like this?
So you were going to laugh hard at me, but this is something I've pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. I use everything I train my sales reps on, and I have my own playbook that has helped me land incredible deals. I mean, in the last year, I have landed deals that within 3 months, the property is worth over $1 million more than what I purchased it for, because of the negotiation we were able to do, finding the deal, and then adding value to the deal. And so I feel like I have a ton of value to bring there. However, I have not scaled it yet. And it's funny because that's how we kind of got in contact. I was talking with Ryan Pineda. I know he's really been able to scale the real estate side of his stuff. And he's like, Chandler, you got to connect with this guy. Let's put this together. Let's make it happen. Let's take your salesmanship and what you're doing with your 500 reps, and let's get it to work on the real estate side of things. And you guys were the people to connect with. So have I done it on a very, very small level with myself and a couple of my sales reps and helping them find their own deals, but not in a business by any means, other than me just buy and hold real estate, because real estate for me has always been a place to put my money. That I made from sales. And now I'm looking at it saying, I have this skill set. I need to get people putting it to work in real estate on a bigger scale. So that's where I'm at, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think even you talking about like saying, hey, becoming a really strong performer individually on the sales side and then becoming a sales leader, like that's a whole nother skill set that you're learning and you're developing. I think a lot of that will translate to real estate as well. And in terms of how to build a team and for more advanced investors, the lessons you learn through that, I think will be phenomenal to share with them too. So, yeah. And I love, even you breaking down your career playbook of saying like, hey, get really good at a skill, make a lot of kind of active income and then reinvest that into long-term vehicles like real estate. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So
definitely. Well, and that's the thing, people, I have so many people come to me that they want buy and hold real estate. They want this portfolio of passive income. And the thing that people need to understand is, in order to get buy and hold real estate, you need an active income to be able to do that. And there are multiple ways to make that happen. I mean, you can borrow money to get that, but you're still putting in a grind somewhere, right? For me, it's more of a passive play other than finding the deals, then I put the money to work. But if you don't have money coming in, you need to find a way to make money come in. And you can always make up for a shortage in funds by putting in more time in the right place. And so whether people come out and work for me and knock doors and sell pest control and make a bunch that then they can put into it, or they find a way to, do a flip business or wholesale properties or whatever, they need that active play to get the income to then put their money to work, or an active play of finding investors and structuring that. There's always going to be that active side before the passive stuff comes.
Right, it feeds all of that. Yeah. Yeah. And if you can build a skill like sales in the meantime, that's pretty good gig there. Yeah. And then I know, in past conversations, I'd ask like, hey, whenever you are teaching people about real estate or they're going through your course or anything like that, or on YouTube, what are those common things you hear from people? And you've broken it down and saying like, hey, everyone's always looking to find more deals and then also looking to find the money to fund those deals. Right. So, I think you've done a phenomenal job within your own market to really become, this trusted, credible referral source for wholesalers and real estate, realtors and all of that. Can you maybe talk through, the playbook on how you've been able to build those relationships and build that trust and credibility in your own local market like that?
Definitely. I think for me, everything will always come back to sales, right? I mean, if you learn sales, you learn how to sell yourself. And it's funny, and I'm going to go a little on a tangent, but my brother came and worked for me, and he was not a salesman. He just didn't like it. And so he came out, he'd make 50 grand with us. And he did that for a couple summers. And he said, Chandler, I just got to go a different way. And so he started a, company that creates websites and does website design. And it's funny because he got all of our sales training. And now that he's into that company, he's going to gross over $1 million this year after building this business. He's doing incredibly well. But he comes back to me and he says, Chandler, it's so frustrating because I got out of sales to do my passion and I love it. But guess what? Now all I'm doing is the sales side because that's the only way I can build the business. And so whenever anyone asks me questions, it's always going to come back to sales. And I think that's what is crucial with building relationships, is being able to sell yourself as someone that will be a good buyer. And so my first piece of advice for someone trying to get those relationships is figure out your criteria, figure out what you're looking for, and be someone that if someone brings that to you, you will buy it. And make sure that you explain it well enough to where they know exactly what you're looking for and what does meet your criteria. Because when you have a realtor and you go to them and you say, yeah, like if it's got a 7 cap or a 10% cash on cash return, I'm going to buy it. And then you get in a property, it meets the criteria you told that realtor or wholesaler, and you don't go through with it. You drag your feet, you're hesitant. They're not going to want to work with you anymore because they've got other people that are like me that will follow through with their commitments. And if they don't, they're probably not a great realtor or a great wholesaler, and they're struggling. And so then you can kind of build together and you can have that learning curve. But the first thing is you've got to build a good relationship. You've got to sell yourself. And then you've got to keep those commitments that you make with those people, because if you're not keeping those, it's going to be hard to hold on to them. So I think that's what I've done really well is I branded myself. I've shared it on social media. I've connected with other investors, wholesalers, realtors. And then I'm someone that not only do I know my criteria, I know what I'm looking for. I'm not going to waste their time. But when they bring me a deal that meets that criteria, I'm all in and I make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially the follow through is absolutely key. Yeah. To build that trust and that's also going to, build your reputation locally of, hey, this guy actually follows through on what he says he's going to do,
Definitely.
Yeah. When it comes to that criteria, I know in your course, you touch on a little bit around, how do you choose your area? How do you understand your market? How do you really, nail down criteria of where you want to buy? Can you maybe talk through that process a little bit especially for
Yeah. Yeah. And this is a big process. I think I spent, an hour or two on this in my real estate investing course. But for me, I came into my market a little bit by luck because it's where I lived and that's where I purchased properties. However, looking back, I think I got lucky because I am in a market that I can find properties that cash flow extremely well. And I'm in a market that has been on a consistent uptrend, and that uptrend is accelerated in a big way. So if I'm looking in other markets, I want to find a market that I'm confident property values are going to continue to explode. Kind of those untouched diamond areas where, I like the 100,000 or more, but not much bigger than that cities, because they're the areas where now people are finding them and they're flooding to them. And so finding an area where, every year there's a shortage on housing, there's a shortage on stuff to rent and buy, because then property values are just exploding. On top of that, finding an area where there is cash flow. And this is one thing, and I know you've done stuff with Bigger Pockets as well, but I always point people to Bigger Pockets because they have the ability to do better research than I personally do. And they'll always put out a list of, the top appreciating areas, the top cash flowing areas.
Yeah,
that's big for me. And those are the areas where if I moved out of my market's there a lot of the time, but that is where I would go because that's the first big thing. The next thing is don't mess around with the slums. But I personally have found a niche that I'm really comfortable with. And what I think is the best niche for me, maybe that's not for you, but my niche is the C+ to B+ areas. And what I mean by that is they're not total trash. These are areas that still have good schools. They're well kept. They're nice. If you drive down the street, you're not worried about getting shot or anything else. Like quality areas that are in that range. But a lot of times you can find dilapidated, well used, or maintenance just hasn't been done on these properties. And sometimes I'm looking for properties that are either in that situation or properties that I can tell have been really well taken care of. And the reason I like the really well taken care of ones is a lot of times they've got old owners that have not raised rents forever. And so finding these areas where whether I add value by cleaning it up or add value by increasing rents and managing it properly, either way, it's going to increase rents, which in turn is going to increase value and cash flow. So that is the niche that I love to hang out in. And I go into a lot more detail on finding these areas and everything that goes into it. But I think you've got to find something where you know exactly how to add value so that you can find properties in a competitive market that other people aren't looking for, add massive value, and then get a big return in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know I'm asking you to condense an hour down in about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a great overview though. I mean, I even know, like, I'm, looking through kind of the different materials that you have worked on and different applications that you've launched. There was the CDS rental calculator that your team worked on as well. When you go through that market and kind of find a specific deal and need to start to analyze that and say, hey, is this a property I should what should I offer for it? Can you kind of walk through even like why you made that calculator and then kind of the different elements of that? And we'll link to that in the description here too. I know that's on the App Store, right? Apple.
Yeah. If you go to the App Store, it's CDS rental calculator. And I don't want to toot my own horn on this, but guys, this is a game changer and it's free. So go download it. Yeah. The reason I developed this app is when I started investing in real estate, everyone said, just make sure your numbers are right? Like, make sure you don't buy a stupid property. Make sure that you understand what your criteria is and that you only buy within that. And it's overwhelming. Now, I'm a numbers guy, so I enjoyed that side. But as I've seen a lot of my friends that are very talented, they've got money in the bank, they want to get into real estate investing, they're just overwhelmed by running the numbers on a rental property. It seems like this big corporate event that just seems overwhelming. And if you talk to someone that really, what was that?
It's very intimidating for a lot of newbies too.
Yeah. And if you talk to someone that really knows their stuff, for example, there's a lawyer here in town that he'll go, and I love talking to him because I love this stuff, but he'll go so in depth into the IRR and the combination of the cap and the cash on cash return and the IRR and, all of these numbers that a lot of times even I'm like, dude, like, why are you diving so deep when people need to understand if you find a deal where you knock it out of the park, it should literally take 60 seconds to analyze that deal to where you can do it in front of the property when you've talked with someone and criteria for that deal were right there. You can lock it up and know that the deal is so good that you're good to go. And that's the point of this calculator. This calculator is set up so you can analyze a deal in literally 30 seconds. And I think a lot of people say, Chandler, there's no way you use this on your bigger properties. Like for a $2 million, $3 million property that's got 30 units or whatever, you've got to be using something else. And I kind of am shy or bashful about telling them, but I'm like, no, this deal is so good that I can run it on my phone in 30 seconds and put in an offer because I know that there's $1 million of value in this property because I understand my market and I can plug it in and I can figure that out. So that's the way I view rentals. I'm not like pushing numbers. I want people to find these killer deals because they know how to add value. And the rental calculator very easily runs that through. And I'm actually pumped because we just added a bunch of really cool stuff to the rental calculator. And we're doing another update this next month, where now you can save your properties, you can refer back to them, you can edit them. So it's not just a one quick run, but you have a quick way to save them. And we're adding some other stuff that I'm going to keep on the down low for right now, but I'm pumped about it. So go pick it up. It's the CDS rental calculator. It'll make your life a lot easier if you're trying to buy and hold real estate.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, the simplicity is key, like you said, because there's definitely people out there who, they'll buy a property and just rely on the appreciation and do things like that might be, might ignore the numbers a little bit too much. It's it's very easy to go on the other side of that spectrum too, as well, and get overwhelmed with having to look for pages and pages of stuff. So I love kind of how you break it down there, but. I know with your sales and negotiating background, once you actually get in contact with the seller and you're going through that actual negotiation process, I would love to hear your perspective on, especially for new investors, like what are those common pitfalls that they run into? Like, how can they think through the negotiation process? Can you kind of tell us more about, how you coach people up or how you, help people think through sales when it comes to investing?
Definitely. I'm going to give some low-hanging fruit first. Yeah. And this is the stuff that people scoff at, but these are the things people do wrong the majority of the time. First and most importantly, you need to understand that all people are the same. And if you get someone to like you and to trust you, you're going to be able to land a much better deal and to get through the process in a much better way. And so a lot of times I see people come in and they're trying to strong arm people and they're arrogant and they're pushy and all of those things. When I run a deal, whether it's in pest control or in sales, it's so important to be humble and to be kind and to also have a frame of confidence. But you've got to recognize people need to like you. So smile a lot, head nod a lot, slow down. A lot of times when you're approaching people and you're having these negotiations, you're talking a million words per minute. And if you slow down, people that are talking slow are much more trustworthy, and it's much easier to build that rapport in that relationship. Get them to agree with you, get them to say yes as much as possible, and build them up as much as possible. If they want to talk about their rentals or about their house or about the renovations they've done or what they've done with rents, whatever else, maximize the heck out of that. Make sure that you call them by name. Make sure that you give a lot of value to what they've done and what they've built. Never minimize at this point in the conversation, because you want to build that rapport. So I'm a big rapport guy on the front end. Now, once I've done that, I really want to come across and I want to show them, this is one thing I'll do with my calculator. And I'll tell you, for me, I'm talking more rentals, but this can carry over. I love to throw it up right there on my calculator and show them, look, at your current rents, this is what I would cash flow with all of your expenses. And this is kind of my strategy, because people know the market is high, but when their rents are low, if I can show them, look, like this is a $2 million property and I'd make like $500 a month with where your rents are at, with where you want your purchase price to be. This purchase price is a price where I'm still getting a really bad return. But if you would be willing to sell it here, this would make sense. And so being able to kindly minimize what they have so that I can really anchor at a substantially lower price, that's going to give me the ability to work up as well, because with their numbers, the property is going to look terrible. So I'm going to anchor really hard on a low price point. And you can do that if you're finding deals where there's a lot of value to add and you have the ability to increase rents. Now, there are other ways to do this with single family homes, and I'm not going to dive into that because this is my game, right? You can kind of find a way to make it work for you, but by anchoring there, then you make them feel like you're giving up a ton by coming up and meeting somewhere in the middle, when in all reality, you know that you have the ability to increase rents, to do small renovations, and to add big value. And so if you can anchor, but then make them feel like you're in pain coming up in price and like you're doing it just to be an appreciation purchase, then that really helps you put yourself in a place where you can get them at a purchase price where in the end, you're going to end up killing it. And it's going to take work. You're going to have to wait for leases to go up. You're going to have to increase rents. You're going to have to do certain renovations, but then you can go into a property. And if you do this properly, you can pick it up again where it's a no-brainer deal for you because you know there's so much more value. And an example I'll give, the majority of the deals I'm doing, I love 2-bedroom apartments, and I'll find these 2-bedroom apartments where the rents are $500 to $600, and I know I can take them to $900. So when I plug in $500 to $600, you know, the property won't cash flow at the purchase price that they're wanting or the market's wanting for a 2-bedroom apartment, but that lets me anchor and then increase rents, put myself in a great place. The last thing I'll add, if you have a deal where you're knocking it out of the park and you have your criteria and your criteria is met, you can still get a big win above that, but don't blow the deal holding to something where you're going to lose an incredible deal because you got greedy. And so I'm a big person. If it meets my criteria and I feel like they're on the edge, I'll always throw them a bone to make sure that I solidify the sale because it meets my criteria and then some. And I see a lot of people walk away from really good deals because they're greedy when it meets their criteria.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like you said, you know, from a rapport perspective, like you hear story after story of people who maybe they put in a lower offer even, and they were the ones that were selected by the seller because of the relationships that they've built along the way. So I'm a big fan of that for sure. But
yeah, the last thing I want to add to this, and this is something that I love this trick. After I've gone through that process, after I've locked them in, Going back and having built the rapport, when you find things that you kind of knew you were in for some renovations, but a lot of times I won't walk through the actual properties. I'll try and get pictures and stuff, but I won't get inside them until I have it locked up, because then when I do a full inspection, and I make sure I give myself a 10, 15 day inspection period, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to be really nitpicky, and I'm going to tie everything that I find to a price, and then I'm going to renegotiate. If you've built proper rapport, so you can go to them and say, look, like, I'm in over my head. These are all of the things I found. These are the prices tied to them. For us to make this work, I'm going to need your help on this. That's another way that I've made deals really, really sweet. And I couldn't have pulled that off had I not built rapport and then not done an inspection process where I really put things together and kindly present it and say, look, these are things that need to be fixed. And the only way that I can make it work, or anyone else is going to be able to make it work, is if we get this done. At that point, they've gone through the whole process. They trust you. They know you. They don't want to go through the process again. And it gives you another chance to save even more money and get money back at closing, so that it really makes the deal sweet.
Yep. Yeah. You also, I mean, you touched on when you said, hey, I know I can go in and add value right away as well to these properties. Can you elaborate on that a little bit and maybe give a few low hanging fruit strategies there on how to go in and quickly add value?
Yeah, for sure. Now, I'm gonna blast someone a little bit, but I love them to death. I know a lot of people follow Graham Stephan for real estate investing, and we talked about this on his podcast and just joke with him. But he did a full renovation, and he got in, and he just kept wanting to do more and more and more and more and more on renovations, and did a lot of things where now this renovation ended up costing him $100,000, and he's in deep in the hole. So my point with this is, I like purchasing properties and then holding to the little fixes I'm going to make that I know add value. And for me, in a property, the things that don't cost a lot but immediately give you the ability to jack up rents like crazy are redoing the flooring, redoing paint, and potentially redoing lighting and some of the fixtures in there. But that's it. Like, flooring and paint are my jam. A lot of times I'll leave old cabinets, I'll leave old fixtures. I'll even leave old appliances if they're still working. I might have a green tub in a property that I redid the flooring and redid the paint, and that gave me the ability to bump rents with just a couple $1,000s from that $500 price point up to $850, $950. And so don't overspend. A lot of people will get in and they want to make it their cutesy home. And if you stick to those big things and they're the only major things you need to do, you can add value in a big way with a very small expense. The other thing that I'll tell you is, a lot of times there aren't even big renovations required. There's little cleanup. A lot of times you'll get water that comes over the side of the tub, or you just need to caulk, you need to clean up, you need to clean the flooring just in the bathroom. Little things that make it look super ghetto and trashy that if you fix, but sometimes there aren't even the little things. Sometimes you walk in and it's a beautiful apartment that someone's lived in for 15 years and the rents haven't been changed in 15 years. And you just need to be the person that sets them up to where they've got online payment. You make sure that they have a way to submit requests for when things are broken. This older tenant that's had issues for 5 years that the management company never got fixed, and you just make the little tweaks for someone that's consistently done a good job at taking care of their property. And then you can raise rents to what the market is because the unit's already good. And it comes down to you just recognizing, hey, this property is not being rented at what it should. So if my management company sets up the proper systems, now we can raise rents and we can put ourselves in a place where we've added value without doing hardly anything other than managing it properly.
Yep. Yeah. That's fantastic. I mean, on the, and I know you said the end portion there, trailing off the management property. That I know you dive into that a little bit on your course as well, on like how to find and screen a really good fit for management properties. Like, can you kind of, especially for our more advanced investors listening to this, can you kind of dig into best practices there of what you found works well about dealing with a management property, how to find them, how to evaluate them, lessons learned there?
Yeah. So picking the proper, and maybe you misspoke. You said management property, but I'm
management
company.
Yes.
I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah, no, you're good. I just wanted to make sure I was going the right direction. But for me, this has been a crucial point in my business, was transitioning from me trying to manage them on my own to having someone else manage them and do it properly. And finding the right management company. A lot of people will go and they're just looking on price, but I think you've kind of got to have a checklist of questions that you have. And for me, the most important question is I'd go in with properties and I'd say, look, this is a property. What is it worth? How much could you rent it for? What are the things that you do different? And just going through with them and seeing what their processes are, and then saying, all right, could you pull up, 3 4-plexes in the area? I want to see your rents on these 4-plexes. And if you have any pictures, I want to see your listings on these, and just making sure, one, that they're getting them cleaned up, that they have good listings, that they're marketing them properly, that their rents are at market rents, and then dive into, what are you going to handle with renovations? What are the third parties that you use? Just making sure that you are going through all of those things. And there's a long list. I'm just hitting on a couple of them. All of this, again, like you said, is in my course, but finding the right one, and then once you're with them, going all in and putting them to work is going to be huge. The other thing that's really important to me is the liability side. So I'm going to ask them, what are your regular checks? How much are you getting into properties? And what are the things that you're checking? And where are you recording those? Because the reason I want that is I want to make sure I'm protected, so that if someone slips and falls, we can say, no, like, we've got this snow removal in place, and we've got this person that comes every 3 months that checks the smoke detectors and checks the CO2 detectors and checks to make sure there aren't any issues with the stairs or anything else. So that liability wise, if someone does try to come after you, not only do you have your insurance and not only do you have your LLC set up, but you have a checklist that you can say, look, this is what my management company has been doing on a consistent basis. This is when we checked all of these things. We've done everything we can, and sometimes mistakes happen. That is your first line of defense. And if you've got that, that's going to protect you in a big way, and make sure that your insurance is going to protect you in a big way, so it never gets past that line.
Yep. And I know I don't want to run over on you or anything like that, Chandler, today, but the going back to that first kind of, 2-part common mistakes that you heard, or that, questions you hear about finding deals, and then how do you fund those deals? How do you find the money? I'd love to kind of spend a few minutes here at the end, kind of digging in on that second half of where do you find the money, when you have a deal locked up like this, or a deal that know is going to be fundable. How do you have any strategies on finding that money? And then second part of that question is negotiating terms on that. Any strategies around that as well?
So for my personal business, everything that I've done has been a myriad of, low down, but the majority of my properties are 25 to 30% down. And then I built a really good relationship with the bank. So I'm going to talk about that for a minute, and then I'll go into more hard money stuff if that makes sense for you. But for me, it's so crucial to shop out multiple banks. And I've come to find that credit unions give me the best deal on the 4 units or less. I've also come to find that the big, third-party guy that connects you with an insurance company is the best way on bigger deals to get the best financing options. And I always want to lock in long terms. I love 30-year fixed if I can get it at super low interest rates with low closing costs. And I've been able to do that by getting in contact with multiple credit unions, having a relationship with all of them, but a really good relationship with one, and then getting them to compete on every single deal. These 4-plexes, for example, I went and shopped them out. Most people were right around 4%. I was able to get my lender that I use consistently down to 3.8. And then once I had them down to 3.8, then I went to other lenders and got them to throw out, super low offers to try and win my business at 3.6. I brought that back to my own main lender, and that's what I was able to lock it in at a 3.6, even though rates kind of bumped in the last couple of weeks. So that's my process there. And that, don't sleep on using credit unions to get incredible money. Now, you've got to make sure you pay to play, and that you can prove that you've had income and taxes by paying and proving that. And so that's where a lot of people shoot themselves in the foot, as they try to save 10, 20 grand on taxes, when had they paid that, they'd be able to get a lot more financing. Maybe it's not 10, 20, maybe it's 50, 100, depending on your situation, but pay to play on that side. So that's the first thing, is I'm putting 25 to 30% down on a lot of these properties. Now, if you transition to hard money, I personally have given hard money. And if you're one of those people that wants to say, you know what, Chandler, I want to borrow from someone else, I want to get a relationship there, I usually would push towards, finding an active income if you're just wanting to do buy and hold stuff. But for those people that are flipping properties, the thing that wins me over as a hard money guy is making sure that I'm getting my good return, making sure that you stay within your timeline, making sure that it's all structured properly, and making sure that I have a backup plan. So there's good equity in a property to where I can be first in line and take over that property if things go bottoms up, and you can prove to me that there's good equity there. So if you're wanting to do that kind of thing, I'm the kind of guy you would come to, and I would say, look, what are all of these things, and how can you prove to me that I've got that good exit strategy if you kind of crap down your leg a little bit and this doesn't come together? But also making sure that my terms and timeline are good and that they're going to be good for that. So was that the direction you wanted me to go?
Yeah,
Did you have any other questions with that?
No, I think, in general today, we covered a ton of ground. So I appreciate you giving, actionable steps, and then also high level overview on all this stuff, man. So fantastic. I mean, again, really, really appreciate your time today. Can you, for anyone who wants to connect with you and continue to learn from you, like, can you kind of give people just an overview of everything you're working on and how they can be getting more involved with you?
Yeah, definitely. So if you want to learn more about real estate investing without paying anything, I do tons of good informational content and fun content on my YouTube channel. We just hit 100,000 subscribers on there. And if you go and click on my playlists on how to invest in real estate, there's lots of stuff you can learn for free. And so that's where I'd always tell people to start if they're wanting to get into real estate investing. There's so much good free information out there. If you like that and you want more from me, first off, go get my free app so you can learn how to analyze deals. And I've got, videos on that so you can learn how to analyze rental properties. All of that's on my YouTube at Chandler David Smith. If you want to go to the next level and get my course, I've tried to keep it at a very low price point. We're re-releasing the course this year, and we're going to bump the price to $500. But right now on my YouTube channel, there's a link where you can get $50 off, and you can get it for only $250 before we bump that price here in 2 months. You're going to get all the new stuff we're adding to the course. And when we do the relaunch, and you can pick it up for $250 right now. So there's a link on the YouTube channel, or you can go to my website at www.chandlerdavidsmith.com. If you're one of those people that you want to learn more about sales, you want to come and work for me, we still are hiring right now to have reps come out and work for us for the summer. And you can go to www.elitesummersales.com. And all of those links are on that main website at chandlerdavidsmith.com. So those are all the places you can find me. I'm also on Instagram, on YouTube, like I said, and TikTok at Chandler David Smith.
Yeah,
that was a much longer answer than you probably wanted.
Yeah, dude, that's great. Yeah, we'll link to all that so people can find it really easily in this video as well. But again, really appreciate your time today, man. Again, we covered so many different things here, so I think people, no matter what stage they're at or what areas they need to improve, they're going to come away with something from this.
Well, thank you so much. This has been a blast, and you are the man. For those of you that don't know, I am new to your program, and I'm going to be putting it to work the next couple of weeks. Yeah, and I'm so excited. I was blown away by all that you guys have to offer. So it's going to be fun. Everybody's going to have to watch the YouTube channel because we're going to be doing some videos on all the extra deals you're going to help me find.
Love it. I was going to say, yeah, DealMachine, we're going to help land you a few here soon. So phenomenal. But awesome. Again, thank you so much for the time today, Chandler, and everyone watching. This is Matt Camp with DealMachine, and happy deal finding.